So we're going to have a second session of coming back into ourselves, into our bodies, of landing. And we've created this session because we think it is so incredibly important to do that before we all go our separate ways. That to actually own and embody and recognize what's happened today and be able to take it out into the world. And as I said earlier at the beginning of the day, we are all change makers. And if we want to make the best of what we've received today, the generosity of all the speakers, the generosity of everybody we've had a conversation with, let alone the generosity of the people who've organised the event and stewarded it, then it's actually appropriate for us to spend a little bit of time working out how we're going to do that. Before we do that, there was something I just wanted to ask. Did people pick up little blue and orange cards when they came in? Were you given a card? And you're going to need it in this session. Is there anybody who didn't get one? Because in that case, please put your hand up and some of my wonderful team members will give you a card. While we're just finishing that up, just take an opportunity to get yourself back in a comfortable position. The key rules are to put your feet on the ground, to actually connect with the ground that sustains us, that supports us. To sit as upright as you can. And to take a few deep breaths from the stomach. If you want, you can use the 7-11 method that we did this morning. Or else you can simply just allow yourself to breathe naturally and to breathe as deeply into your body as is comfortable for you. A teacher of mine said, put your mind where your body is. A teacher called Lama Yeshe. And we've heard so much today about a society where we often don't put our minds where our bodies are. And we had someone earlier who very compellingly from the audience pointed out that we don't really pay enough attention to our bodies and we're not very good at touch, particularly in public situations. Now, we're not going to suggest we move into touch with anybody else here, but what I'd like to invite you to do is to mentally touch a part of your body that may be aching or feeling a bit weary at this stage in the day. Where are your shoulders? Are they hunched up or are they relaxed? Maybe try lifting them towards your ears and letting them relax. How's your neck? Some of the seats here strain the neck quite a lot. If your neck's feeling a bit sore, then you may just want to move it around for a moment. How's your spine? How's your pelvis? Sink down into the seat and let it support you at this moment in the day. And finally, think about the muscles around your eyes. In Tai Chi, they talk about having a soft gaze. So whether your eyes are open or shut, just give yourself a moment to soften your gaze, to soften your eyes within the sockets, and to enjoy the relaxation that comes with that. Maybe what you want to do is just run over what have been some of the highlights of today for you. For me, there are so many, it's very hard to even remember. You know, we started the day with Karen, so inspiring, so passionate. Then we moved on to a whole group of scientists who inspired us by their insights Chris on the balance between the three parts of mind, the threat and the drivers and the compassion. We need all three, but we need to get them in balance. Paul Ekman defining whether compassion is an emotion or not. The incredible insights that Antoine has been developing, his work with Richard Davidson and then since in Europe. And the amazing enthusiasm of Emma from Stanford, who was asked whether compassion can be cultivated, and she had so many research results. I thought she was going to run out of breath. Amazing, one after another, leaving no doubt. And then Kristin coming in with this compelling message about self-compassion, probably helpful to so many of us on levels that we don't even realize yet. A real message for us to take away and to share with other people in our family, our friends, and in the workplace. And then there was the round table discussion and all the different points of view that came into that, and the human stories, starting with Joe and this compelling story of rebuilding relationship and the power of empathy. Alan talking about the power of mindfulness practice. Kevin Jones bringing in the primary school angle and what we can learn from that. Stephen and the platinum rule. So many different things. The examples, the case studies we had this afternoon, where people honestly sharing the successes, but also the challenges and the difficulties. Often more useful to hear about those than what's gone smoothly, because it makes it real. And then finally, the inspiring input from Adam, inspiring us all to be smart givers, and from Dan. And I'm sure we've all got our own memories from today, so I just invite you to take a moment and just reflect on what's really been meaningful and inspiring for you. If you went home tonight and someone in your family said, well, what did you really get from today? What would you say to them? Then what I'd like you to do is to certainly open your eyes if they're closed, and we're going to go back to the challenges that we identified early on in the day. And the questions we wanted to ask were, have you gained any insights from the conference speakers that would help you with the challenges that you identified this morning? Or maybe it was from connecting with other people at the conference. Maybe it was a chance encounter, a brief conversation, maybe it was an in-depth conversation. And the second question would be, well, how can empathy, compassion, and the card that you were given as you come in actually help you bring about the changes that you've been looking for? So the cards that you've got come from a program that we created called 16 Guidelines for a Happy Life. Some of you may have seen the stall out there. We're running a workshop tomorrow. And it's inspired by an 8th century Tibetan text. And each one is a universal human value. So some people here will have the card humility. Some people will have courage. In between there's gratitude, generosity, kindness. All these values that I think all of us are familiar with and can relate to. And we've found over actually a practice of many years that all kinds of interesting things can happen when you are trying to apply one of these values to a particular issue. And it's often the most interesting when you take the card at random, as you did when you came in. So what I'd like to invite you to do is to turn once again to somebody who's sitting either in front or behind you, and to discuss these questions with them. Particularly, can empathy, compassion, and the 16 Guidelines card help you bring about the change that you're looking for? And what I'm going to do this time, which I didn't last time, is give a few minutes for one person to speak, and then ring the gong, and then you change over so that both people get a go. Is that all right? Okay, starting now. Thank you. Okay, everybody. Okay, everybody. I'm really sorry. I don't think I've ever interrupted so many people at once before. But we're trying to end the conference on time, so we're going to have to bring those conversations to a close. But if they were unfinished, I hope maybe you could take a minute or two at the end to finish them up. And I really hope that they've been helpful. We've actually got an invitation to you that if you feel that there is something that you are going to do different as a result of this conference, we invite you to email it, to tweet it, or to write it on a paper and give it to us as you leave. Because it would be really encouraging, not just for the organisers, but I think for everybody, to see that a conference like this is making a real difference in people's lives. It isn't just a talk shop, it isn't just a day out, it's actually something that we're going to embed into our lives and that's going to be able to permeate our working lives and also the rest of our lives and bring more empathy and compassion into the world. So I just had one final thought, just a moment of encouragement from the Dalai Lama. If you think you're too small to make a difference, try getting into bed with a mosquito. Dan Goleman said so persuasively just now, a leader is anyone with a sphere of influence. And I think all of us have a sphere of influence. So let's just make a collective wish that our participation in the conference today is actually going to ripple out and bring benefits in the world.